past, fatal heart impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact, don't ask, grab reactions, jacked, attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember you're discreet now, get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kiryu here. And now, whenever we last left off with this series, Izuki Midoriya, she has had an encounter with two different people. One man calling himself the quote-unquote Winter Soldier. Another man calling himself Taskmaster. Now, this is all quite peculiar to her. And Izuki, she is actually a bit more interested on what this might mean. Now, with that, let us pick up with Izuki. It is very late at night, and she is currently driving home. Now, her injury has been recovered, and she actually did stitch it back up. Now, Izuki is currently just thinking, with everything that has happened, it seems like, well, the world's kind of upside down. First, there was meeting the Winter Soldier, and then there's this guy now called Taskmaster. Quite interesting. The Winter Soldier seems to know more about things going on in this country than she does. And then there's that other fact. Taskmaster can copy my moves. In fact, he waited for me to attack him before he made his move. Logically, that does not make sense. You want to get the upper hand on your opponent and try and take them down first. That's not good. Now, with that, Izuki is still thinking. As, on her trip, she actually does pull off the highway. And pull into a gas station to refill her car. Now, as she does actually do that, she heads into the gas station, using some cash to buy snacks and some water. Now, she would buy a large coffee or an energy drink. However, an energy drink, that is unnecessary power that you would just have tired out eventually. And then there's the fact that coffee, she would have to stop again in a few hours. So, most of her snacks consist of chocolate, in order to stimulate the same part of her brain as coffee, but without needing to have to pee. Now, she is also talking with the cashier, asking for a few dollars on the pump that she pulled up to, as she does actually pay. Now, as that does happen, she does go to walk out of the store, taking her bag and leaving. As soon as she does walk past a man who is quite big, he does actually knock her on the shoulder whenever he does actually pass by her, her being quite confused, but deciding to let it go. Now, she does go to then walk away, before she does actually hear a bit more commotion. Now, she heads to her car and tosses the bag in, reaching into the back seat and grabbing a gun. Now, she checks the magazine before putting it back in, and she does then grab another one, putting it and tucking it behind her waistband. Now, she walks back into the store, finding that this man is using his quirk. Now, the man is using a particular quirk to hold this man somewhat at quote-unquote gunpoint, you can say. Now, let us say that he is using... He's using a form of a quirk that would allow him to hold objects up. Actually, no. Let's say his quirk is... glass manipulation, because that does actually sound pretty interesting. Now, he's basically holding up shards of glass directly to this guy's throat and face, instructing him that what he needs to do right now is empty the register. Izuki walking back in, with both of her hands behind her back, asking the man exactly what is he doing. You better get out of here, little girl, if you know what's good for you. Him going to throw his hand out to the left, the glass shard flying away from this man's face, and heading straight for Izuki. Now, she just simply does one thing. She brings her hand up and is able to smack the glass shard out of the air and push it off to the right, it flying over her shoulder, as she does actually bring her hand up with her gun and fire off a shot. Now, she hits the guy center mass in the chest, and he does actually go flying backwards, falling into, well, the sunglasses thing, or that giant stand of sunglasses that you would always usually see at a gas station, before smashing onto the ground. Now, with that, the guy does actually try and turn back to Izuki, using these shards that he landed on, or created, to try and attack her. Her simply just doing one thing. She is able to step out of the way of these attacks quite easily. And she actually does pull the trigger again, shooting the guy directly in the hand before actually bringing the gun directly to his head. As she actually does squat down, informing the man that he's an idiot, and that if he is ever going to actually rob a place, to do a few things. Her stating to 1, wear a mask. 2nd, don't take your eyes off of somebody who you deem is a threat. Her saying that she actually does bring the gun up, and with her left hand, she punches him directly across the face. Now, as soon as she does do that, she actually does go to holster her weapon, sliding it on the other side, or her left side, in her waistband, as she actually does go to walk away, the man at the register being quite surprised. Now, she actually does walk back to her car, before pulling the nozzle out of her gas tank and setting it back down. Luckily, she put that little pin on, so that the gas doesn't need her to stand there and just constantly pump it. Now, with that being said, Izuki then does drive away, as later on into the night, she does have to stop and go to sleep, before she does eventually get all the way home. Now, Izuki's long journey was quite fun. Her getting home and actually arriving the same night, Bakugo went to UA for his first day. Or no. If I have my timeline correct, the entrance exam, 1 week later, the first day. Okay, so Bakugo would be in UA for about a week whenever she does arrive back home. Now, whenever she does actually turn back up in the city, she does give Mitsuki a call, informing her about what happened. And Mitsuki does seem a bit more concerned, asking Izuki if she's going to be alright. She did hear something about her on the news. Her stating that she'll be fine. And that for right now, she's just going to be coming home. Now, she would then leave the car back at the warehouse, taking the laptop and her data back home. Now, as soon as she does arrive home, she does take a shower and get changed. Now, with all of that, she does begin to look online, looking for anything that can help her right now. Now, she does actually go onto the deep web after setting up her router and begin to look for more information that can help. Now, she does believe that she is getting somewhere, as she actually does recontact the person who told her that that place was not really safe, or who told her to be careful, informing them that she was ambushed and that the place was empty. Now, her contact does not respond, at least for right now. As Izuki, she does continue to look for more information. Now, it does take a little bit of time, but she does eventually begin to start putting together more pieces about where her former friends are currently. Now, some of them are out on different missions, and there's actually been a sighting, or at least a strange report, of a vigilante who has been active in many different places. Now, Izuki does begin to look at some of this information about these vigilantes, along with actually watching illegal footage or illegally taken footage from different surveillance cameras. It actually showing the night Izuki and her squad took down that one man back home in Russia. And then there's the surveillance information she did find about the Winter Soldier. Actually watching where he did have a car smashed directly onto the side of the road. Before, he did actually go to kill his targets. Now, she did begin to look further into the Winter Soldier program, or the Wolf Spider program, having to make a few deals with people and exchange money. Now, she also does share private information from this laptop that people would probably want to actually get their hands on. Now, Izuki, she does do these exchanges quite often now. And tonight, she finally does get somewhere, as it has been a few days. And as soon as Izuki does exchange information for somebody, she actually does get a bit more information. Now, she is currently staying at the warehouse, and she is looking into it more. Now, as she is looking into everything, she actually does find a bit more information. It suddenly popped up online. It was there for about 3 to 4 seconds. And if you weren't paying attention whenever it happened, you wouldn't have been able to read what it said. Now, somebody put a bounty on the Winter Soldier, and they do have his current location. Izuki quite impressed. As soon as she did actually go to click on the link, she began to quickly download the file on her computer, being able to download it just before it crashes. Now, this is quite peculiar. Izuki restarting her computer and being able to actually try and salvage most of the file. After she does begin to decrypt it, it does have a bit of a location. And it isn't really just that. This was part of an algorithm someone made. After undoing it or unscrambling it, there's a secret message. The Winter Soldier is going to be in their city in 2 days. Whenever he is there, he is going to be assassinated by the Black Widow Project, or Black Widow Assassins. Now, this is quite peculiar. Izuki actually finds this to be quite interesting. Now, with all of that, she does actually put her own plan together, getting together weapons, knives, and her Black Widow gauntlets. Now, 2 days have passed, and she actually has to go down to the docks to find quite the peculiar case. There is a lot of things going on down here. There's some illegal racing, and there's even some what seems to be gambling. But most of all, it's on the other side. There seems to be, well, somebody trying to break into certain containers. Now, Izuki is actually quite intrigued about all this. Her actually going to slide down some goggles before jumping off the roof. Now, she begins to run across the shipping containers and sneak her way over, being able to actually look around the corner and see what the Winter Soldier is doing. Now, she actually does try and come up with a way to approach the idea, or approach this man. What is he even looking for? Shipping container number... Her reading the number on the side, and just thinking, this belongs to a corporation in the city, doesn't it? Or no, is this a pharmaceutical company? Now, as Uzuki is thinking that, she actually does look around the corner once again, and find that the Winter Soldier is gone. Now, she quickly spins back around and does try and stab into the Winter Soldier, who actually does bring up his metal arm and catch the knife in between his bicep and his arm, being able to snap the blade off as he actually does bring up his other arm to grab Izuki by her throat before pushing her up against the wall and hold her there. This being quite surprising. Izuki bringing up her legs and wrapping them around the soldier as she does actually begin to try and squeeze down. Now, the Winter Soldier is quite confused. Why are you following me? How did you know I was here? How about you stop crushing my windpipe, and I can explain. Now, he actually does bring down his robotic arm, as she does let go of his ribs. Now, she actually does explain that he's in danger. In fact, the people that she's trying to save are coming after him. More widows. Why am I not surprised? What are you talking about? Do you really not understand what's going on? Your friends are coming after me, right? So, I'm trying to do something. In fact, this was supposed to be a trap for them. Instead, I got you. Widow. Well, don't count me out just yet. Now, she goes on explaining what's about to happen, as they do actually begin to listen in on certain things. Izuki hearing the strange sound that she is all too familiar with. Silence. Izuki knows that sound. Just a few minutes ago, you could hear cars driving and engines roaring, along with people chanting. And that's not good. Now, with that being said, Izuki, she, just continues to listen. Her and the Winter Soldier actually going back to back. Because both of these two know exactly what this means. So, Widow, do you have any way out of this? Not really. So that information you found on me, it was accurate. Did it tell you how many? No. But usually us widows work in groups. Packs, if you will. Usually there would be about 12. But I'd say there's probably 3. 3? Why do you say 3? Because we usually split up into three groups, or roughly about 4 groups. 3 people each. That's what we usually do. And with this place this quiet and this big, it's safe to assume that we have at least 3 targets. So, we're at least outgunned a little bit, aren't we? Possibly. But, you wouldn't happen to know of anything useful in these shipping containers, would you? Ironically, I did hide something here. Hopefully it's still in the same container. At least it wasn't moved. Now, we just need to get 500 feet down that corridor, he says, motioning to Izuki's left. Now, with that being said, these two actually do begin moving, still staying back to back. As soon as Izuki is able to actually see down the corridor on her right, she does actually hear a sound. What sounds to be a gunshot, as she throws her back towards the Winter Soldier, and he goes falling forwards as she goes falling backwards. Now, with that, she quickly gets back up and pulls her guns and gets ready. The Winter Soldier actually grabbing one of his own weapons. Now, with that being said, these two are prepared for a firefight. Now, this is whenever the soldier, or let's say the Winter Soldier, actually does look up into the air, thinking that they can most likely head that direction. And that would be the best course for them. Now, he actually does inform Izuki about that. Him actually going to jump towards a container, running at it and going to parkour his way up. Now, as soon as he actually does do that, he's shot directly in the back of his right arm, falling off the container and hitting onto the ground, as he actually has someone begin to grunt in pain, getting back onto his feet. Izuki actually having to pay attention herself, as somebody actually is trying to shock her with a taser. Her being hit by a 30,000 volt taser before she actually has to go to fall forwards onto the ground. Now, her suit did absorb a whole lot of this impact. However, it still hurt like a bitch. Now, as soon as the Widow actually has revealed herself and go to bring up a firearm in her other hand, Izuki actually has bring up her gun and fire 3 shots. One hitting the gun, the other hitting the Widow in the chest, and the other one actually going to hit the Widow somewhere above the neck. No. Let's say that the third bullet whizzed past and hit into the Widow's ear, her actually having to dodge back into cover, as her chest wound it is not a good one. Izuki at least knowing that Widow will not be up and moving for a few minutes, as the other two actually do begin to make their way towards them. Now, Izuki asks the soldier if he can actually still move, to which he does get back up, using his left hand as he does fire over Izuki's shoulder, and hit a Widow directly in the forehead. Now, as her body does actually come slimming out from the container, this does confuse Izuki, as he informs her that she should really switch to full metal jackets. They go through metal a whole lot easier. But how did you even... Don't worry about it. Now, him actually going to look around, as he brings his gun up and begins to fire into different containers. And this actually does cause some movement. Izuki seeing that as she does actually go to bring up her own gun. Now, as she does actually go to bring up her gun, she's waiting for a clear shot. And this is whenever she does actually hear a sound behind her. Spinning around and looking up, aiming directly up and firing off her gun, hitting a Widow directly in her throat, as the body does actually fall off of the container and smash directly right next to her. Now, Izuki knows the timing. That is 4 Widows, so that is bad. And the Winter Soldier actually has instructed her that they need to move now. The two going to make this run. Now, it only takes 15 seconds. However, as soon as they were out in the open, they began to get shot at. And both of them immediately were able to know that there was a sniper roughly around 250 feet in that direction. And it might be the very same sniper that shot this man in the back of the arm. Now, they do actually get to a container. It is partly obscured, meaning that the sniper can't shoot at them. And this is whenever the Winter Soldier actually does go to try and rip off the lock. Now, he crushes the lock before pulling it off, going to undo the chains. As soon as he actually does do that, a Widow actually does come out of nowhere, being able to attack Izuki. Her being smashed against the container as the Widow actually does throw her head directly into it. This actually hurting Izuki as it does actually disorient her. Her bring up her hand and directly trying to stab the Widow in her eyes. Now, with that happening, the Winter Soldier does actually continue to open up the container, as Izuki and the Widow are both fighting. Now, these two are both going back and forth, both trying to use a firearm. However, they just keep going relentlessly. Izuki, she is able to keep up with this Widow. And the Widow is fighting way more aggressively than she's ever seen. Before Izuki is actually able to catch a leg and actually throw the Widow against the shipping container, bring her hand up and actually just socking her directly in the gut, before going to rip off her mask. As soon as she actually does do that, she is quite surprised to see somebody from the Red Room. The Widow immediately just throwing her face out forwards and going to try and bite Izuki in her nose. That being the mistake. Now, they are able to bite through Izuki's mask, or at least what she has covering her own face. It's not made of as durable material as the one that she just ripped off this person. And they immediately are able to drink Izuki's blood. That being the mistake. The person immediately having their body freeze up, before they actually do go over to fall limp. Now, Izuki just begins to inspect the Widow, looking for anything on her. As that does actually happen, the Winter Soldier does actually drive out in a small vehicle. And he does actually ask the Widow if she's still alive, her taking the widow's belt, and a few things. Her comm system and many others. Her jumping in the small car as they do actually begin to speed off into the night. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed, and have an amazing night. I'll catch you guys in the next part.